This top 10 brought to you by shirts. Shirts, I have them now. The killer is a very useful aspect of this game. In regular raids, it allows you to do extra damage to those you have a killer advantage on, and it provides a major advantage in things like Senkaimon quests, inheritance zones, or the droplet raids. So naturally, having a character that has 2 killers makes them extremely valuable. With that said, welcome to the top 10 tag team characters on Bleach Brave Souls. Please keep in mind that I'm taking into consideration every aspect of these characters, from the killers to the actual strong attacks and abilities. Also, the order of these lists might differ depending on the exact situation you're talking about. This is more of an overall usefulness kind of thing. Starting off at number 10, we have Omaeda, who I know a lot of people didn't like because of his soul trait, and it's understandable. 30% extra damage is nice, but having to almost die to use it is kind of a hefty price to pay. Still, despite his less than stellar soul trait, he's actually a really good hybrid character, with both his attack and SP being over 700, and his strong attacks all having really good range. And while he may not have Flurry or Frenzy, he does have a Bruiser at 40% and a Berserker at 30%, which certainly helps with the whole hybrid thing he has going on. He also has a Crawling Vortex strong attack too, which can make him useful in guild quests, though his link wouldn't be useful there because you'd have to lose health to use it, and you'd be sacrificing a ton of points if you do that. Aside from that though, he wouldn't be half bad in it. After all, he does have an extra flash step, and he's got Bombardment, meaning that his special hits twice, and if you add a Tenshintai, it does 4 times the original special's damage, which is useful not just in guild quests but in a variety of different situations. As for his killers, Omaeda has a Soul Reaper killer and a Captain killer, making him especially deadly against captains that aren't Shinji. It isn't the most useful combination, but it's definitely better, at least right now, than an Espada killer. And unfortunately, it doesn't make him good in PvP, but it gives him that much more of an advantage when you're doing a raid with a captain boss at the end. Coming in at number 9 on the list is Tag Team Koga, who is still actually a relevant character despite him being over a year old at this point. Sure, his stats may not be anything crazy, but they are still decent, and he's one of the best hybrid characters this game has to offer. This is because even though he has a higher attack than he does SP, he does have Frenzy, and in addition to that, he has a 160% mag strong attack 3, that when in combination with his Vortex move, can deal a massive amount of damage. Not only that, but all of his strong attacks and his special have a chance to inflict a status ailment, with his strong attack 1 in special inflicting burn, and his strong attack 2 in strong attack 3 inflicting weakening. Like the previous character on this list, this character also has a Soul Reaper and a Captain killer, except this one is actually useful in PvP. Granted, not as useful as he once was, but since this one has a 20% damage reduction, he can hold his own in certain situations, and if he can't, he can just be used as a link. Koga truly has a lot of things going for him, and I for one can't wait to see what happens when this character gets resurrected.
この程度ですか。私たちの相手ではありません。
Okay, now we're getting to the really good stuff. Up next is Tag Team Retsu. And I know some of you are thinking really good stuff, but her link though, to which my response is, shut up Jimmy. Her link is actually good. A lot of people think that links that don't involve damage or strong attacks aren't good, and that's just not the case. Especially now that different modes of PvE have come out, and being able to heal from area to area without the use of a strong attack is a bit more useful than it used to be. With that out of the way, she's actually a really good character. She's got a really high SP as well as Frenzy, and she can inflict paralysis on all of her strong attacks and her special. Granted, it's not debilitating paralysis, but paralysis nonetheless. Her strong attack 1 is a lunge move, her strong attack 2 is a vortex move that lasts a pretty decent amount of time and it doubles as a shield for her, plus because of the frenzy, it has a really high chance of inflicting that paralysis, and she's got a full screen strong attack 3. She's also got a pretty useful nat. Sure, her attack is only 630, but she has a plus 30 bruiser, and it's got decent speed. But what really makes this character stand out is her killer. She's got a Soul Reaper and an Arankar killer, and that is the most useful combination of this game. While you do have the regular mobs that are Soul Reaper and Arankar, it's also useful against bosses with those same affiliations, which is pretty much most of the characters in this game. And it's what makes Retsu useful in almost anything you take her in, because the odds are you will be fighting a Soul Reaper or Arankar.
これで指名だ。てめえの相手をしてる暇はねえ。はっ。なりてえな。
Next on the list we have Shuhei Hisagi. While this character didn't get the best killers, having a hollow and a captain killer, he more than makes up for it in strong attacks and abilities. Now that's not to say his killers aren't useful. Having a hollow killer is great, and having a captain killer gives him good potential in PvP, as well as against some bosses in PvE. But admittingly, having a Soul Reaper or a Rancor killer is better, as most of the enemies you will encounter, be it mobs or actual boss enemies, are either one of those two. Still, Shuhei has a really high attack, as well as a plus 20 Nadlink and a plus 50 Bruiser, making his own normal attack 70% stronger just by himself. He's also got an extremely useful set of moves, including a crawling Vortex Strong Attack 2 that helps with increasing the combo and the damage, and helps keep enemies away from you, which is useful because Shuhei is ranged. He's also got a Strong Attack 3 that's a hybrid Vortex, pushes enemies in one spot before hitting him with one final strike, and helps with gathering them all in one place to continue hitting them with your normal attack. And while his Strong Attack 1 isn't as useful as the others, it does have a chance to inflict debilitating paralysis along with his special. Not only that, but his special also weakens defense, which in turn helps Shuhei deal even more damage. So yeah, while his killer set isn't as useful as the other characters we've seen on this list so far, damage wise, he definitely deals a lot more. Coming in at number 6 is Tag Team Ichigo, who has become increasingly common, but that's not a bad thing considering he is an extremely useful character. He has the best killer set in the game of Soul Reaper and a Rancor, as well as a pretty high SP and Frenzy. He's also got really good range on his strong attacks and really good range and speed on his normal attacks, which by the way are actually pretty useful considering his attack is decent and he's got a plus 30 Bruiser. Now you may be asking, but why would I focus on his normal attacks when his strong attacks have Frenzy? Well Jimmy, it's because his strong attack 2 is a Vortex move, but not just any regular Vortex move. Because this Ichigo actually has the best static Vortex move in the game. It may have a 24-second cooldown, but it hits a ridiculous number of times due to its long duration and its Frenzy. Seriously, bring a chappied version of this guy to a guild quest, and you can get up to a ridiculously high combo in no time. Just make sure you also bring someone that can finish the quest on time, since you will be spending a few seconds waiting for the Vortex to end. Aside from that though, everything else about this character is great, as he's a really well balanced and rounded character.
行くぜ一つ逮捕おいほらやめねえか
Okay, so I know a lot of people like Ichigo more than Renji, and that's fine. But when it comes to the actual tag team characters, Renji is a bit more useful. While Ichigo does have the better killer set, Renji is not that far off, having a hollow and an Rancor killer. Renji also has a really high SP as well as Frenzy, and he's got a strong attack recharge link, which really comes in handy when it comes to his moveset because his strong attack 3 is a charge move that when fully charged and built correctly can actually deal more damage than the special. So it's basically like having special levels of damage every time you use your strong attack 3. And like his special, his strong attack 3 also has a chance to inflict burn. Granted, it's not debilitating burn, but hey, extra damage is extra damage. Renji's other strong attacks are useful too. They have decent range and are pretty quick to activate. He's also got a useful Nad, with his attack being pretty decent and having a plus 30 Bruiser. Finally we get to Renji's special. I mentioned that it did inflict burn, but it's also full screen and has a plus 40 devastation. Overall, he's a really well-rounded character, and if you have him, you should definitely 200 him, as you'll find him to be really useful in a variety of different situations, since there are plenty of raids with either a Rancor or hollow enemies.
爆動の62 100歩欄間終わりだ
At number 4, we have Tag Team Izuru, who has a really high SP as well as Frenzy and can inflict debilitating weakening on all of his attacks, allowing you to deal even more damage and take less damage from any weakened enemy attacking you. Like Retsu and Ichigo, Izuru also has the best killer in the game of a Rancor and Soul Reaper, though I will say his link is not quite as useful as theirs, at least not for this character, as high SP Frenzy characters typically don't have a need for damage reduction. That's not to say they never use it, but it's not as useful as say strong attack recharge or strong attack damage. Still, that doesn't in any way take away from the usefulness of this character, as all of his strong attacks have pretty good range. Granted, he doesn't have a full screen strong attack, and his normal attack also has really good range, like really good range. It's also really fast, and it does a decent amount of damage due to his attack being pretty good and him having a plus 20 Bruiser. It's not as high as some of the other characters we've seen so far, but it's not bad.
の力はこんなもんかよ。抜かせ。
Next on the list, we have Tag Team Ikaku, who has significantly higher SP than any character we've seen on this list so far, as he came out after this year's step-ups, when the normal SP for characters kind of skyrocketed. In addition to that really high SP, he also has Frenzy. Ikaku also has a full stamina damage link that allows not only his strong attacks but also his normal attacks and his special to deal 20% more damage as long as his health is full, which shouldn't be too tough considering this character's strong attack 2 is a barrier move that in addition to dealing damage puts 3 barriers around him and 1 to each of his teammates. This not only helps protect him from damage, but also helps him conserve his combo, allowing it to go much higher. All of Ikaku's strong attacks and his normal attack have really good range. In addition to that, his normal attack is piercing, which helps him hit enemies behind other enemies and increase the combo that way. And thanks to his plus 20 bruiser and his link, his normal attack can deal up to 40% more damage, which is pretty good considering he has a decent attack already. All of this makes Ikaku a really good character for attacking, as well as a really good support character. Not to mention that this character has the best combination of killers. But at this point, that's just a bonus.
どうやら仕置きが足らんようじゃの。
Coming in at number 2 on the list is Tag Team Yama, who I know doesn't have as high SP as Ikaku, and his Hollow and Soul Reaper killer, while still extremely useful, isn't quite as good as a Hollow and Arrancar killer. However, when it comes to actual damage, this character definitely surpasses Ikaku. Now I know Ikaku has a higher SP, and that does make his initial damage higher than Yama's, though not that much considering Yama also has a really high SP and Frenzy. The thing is, Yama can inflict debilitating burn on all of his attacks, and because his strong attacks have Frenzy, they get twice the opportunities to inflict the burn. Speaking of which, his strong attacks are all really useful. His strong attack 1 is the regular pushback move, his strong attack 2 is a hybrid vortex move that gets enemies in one spot before hitting them with the final strike, and his strong attack 3 is a charge move that, as I've mentioned before, if built correctly, can deal more damage than his actual special. Finally, there is his special, which is full screen and is guaranteed to inflict debilitating burn. Combine all of this with the fact that Yama is actually immune to burn, and you have yourself one of the most useful characters in the whole game.
お前が逃れる術はね。
And finally at number 1, we have the tag team version of Toshiro Hitsugaya, who has a ridiculously high SP. Seriously, 765 is absolutely insane. And in addition to that, he also has a plus 20 sad link, which increases the damage even more. This character also has Frenzy and can inflict debilitating freezing on absolutely everything. And while we have seen this before, I want to call attention specifically to his Strong Attack 3, since it's a hybrid vortex move that resembles Mangarukia's Strong Attack 2 very much, except obviously this one does a lot more damage and has better range. Still, it hits multiple times and greatly increases the chance to inflict that freezing, plus it leaves behind an Ice Dragon, which is, awesome. He also has great range on his other strong attacks as well as his normal attack, and he has a full screen special that is guaranteed to inflict that freezing. Combine all of this with the best possible combination of killers, and you have the best tag team character in the game. Though I'm not gonna lie, a really big reason he is the best tag team character is due to that really high SP, giving a similar SP to that Yama, and he would have been number 1 instead. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the next top 10. Hello there! Have a specific complaint about this top 10 video? Maybe there's a character that you wanted to see on here that didn't make it. Or maybe you have a complaint about a certain placement of a specific character. Well, have I got the place for you. Click the link in the description below to get transported to a special video, where you can air your grievances about this video and my other content, and use all the fancy words that you don't want your mom and dad to see. It'll be our little secret.